The Battle of Pearl Harbor, a devastating and decisive attack on December 7, 1941, marked a pivotal turning point in both American and world history. The surprise assault by the Imperial Japanese Navy on the U.S. naval base in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, propelled the United States into World War II and fundamentally shifted the global balance of power. At the time of the attack, the United States had remained officially neutral in the conflict, despite mounting tensions between the U.S. and Japan due to Japan's aggressive expansion in the Pacific and its ongoing war in China. However, Japan's desire to secure natural resources in Southeast Asia and the Pacific Ocean led to increasingly hostile diplomatic relations with the U.S., which had imposed economic sanctions, including an embargo on oil and other essential materials. The Japanese military, under the direction of Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, conceived a bold and calculated plan to strike the U.S. Pacific Fleet, hoping to deliver a crippling blow that would delay American intervention in Japan's imperial ambitions. Yamamoto believed that a surprise attack on the U.S. fleet would give Japan the time it needed to consolidate its gains and fortify its territorial holdings. However, the attack was also meant to serve as a statement of Japan's growing power and resolve, seeking to deter the U.S. from any military retaliation in the Pacific. Despite the vast disparity in overall military strength between the two nations, Yamamoto understood the importance of neutralizing the American naval threat in the Pacific as Japan expanded its reach. The attack on Pearl Harbor was meticulously planned and involved the coordination of over 350 aircraft, including bombers, torpedo planes, and fighter planes, launched from 6 aircraft carriers: Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, Hiryu, Shokaku, and Zuikaku. The Japanese fleet sailed approximately 230 miles north of Oahu, undetected by American reconnaissance, and launched the first wave of aircraft at approximately 7:48 a.m. on December 7th. The timing was deliberate, chosen to catch the American forces off guard on a Sunday morning when many service members were off duty or still asleep. The first wave struck primarily at Pearl Harbor's airfields and battleships, aiming to destroy American aircraft on the ground and inflict maximum damage on the fleet. The second wave followed shortly afterward, targeting other military installations and reinforcing the initial assault. The devastation was immediate and overwhelming. The attack focused on key U.S. military assets stationed at Pearl Harbor, including battleships, airfields, and aircraft. Among the most significant casualties was the USS Arizona, a battleship that suffered a direct hit from a bomb that caused an explosion, sinking the ship and killing more than 1,100 of its crew members. The loss of the Arizona became symbolic of the human cost of the attack, and the sunken ship remains a memorial to this day. Other battleships, including the USS Oklahoma, California, Nevada, and West Virginia, were severely damaged or sunk, while several cruisers, destroyers, and a number of aircraft were also destroyed. In total, the Japanese attack resulted in the destruction of 8 U.S. battleships, 3 cruisers, 4 destroyers, and nearly 200 aircraft, making it one of the most significant military defeats in U.S. history. The human toll was equally catastrophic. The attack claimed the lives of 2,403 Americans, including military personnel and civilians, with over 1,000 wounded. Though most of the casualties were military personnel, the attack was far-reaching and impacted civilians as well, many of whom were working on the base at the time. The surprise nature of the assault left the United States reeling, with little time to organize a coherent defense or retaliation. Despite the overwhelming success of the Japanese raid, the American aircraft carriers, the USS Enterprise, Lexington, and Yorktown, were not in port at the time and thus escaped damage. Additionally, oil storage tanks, repair yards, and submarines remained largely untouched, which allowed the U.S. Navy to recover more quickly than the Japanese had anticipated. In the aftermath of the attack, the United States was thrust into a state of war. On December 8, 1941, President Franklin D. Roosevelt addressed Congress in a speech that would become one of the most famous in American history. In it, he declared December 7, 1941, a date which will live in infamy, emphasizing the surprise nature of the attack and the unprovoked aggression of Japan. Congress swiftly responded by declaring war on Japan with nearly unanimous support. The following day, December 11, 1941, saw Germany and Italy, Japan's Axis allies, declare war on the United States, which expanded the conflict into a global war. This marked the official entry of the United States into World War II, and the attack on Pearl Harbor became the catalyst for a U.S. military mobilization that would ultimately help turn the tide against the Axis powers. While the attack on Pearl Harbor was a tactical success for Japan, it proved to be a strategic blunder. The Japanese failed to destroy critical targets such as the American aircraft carriers, which were crucial to the U.S. Navy's ability to project power across the Pacific. Furthermore, key oil reserves and shipyards remained intact, allowing the U.S. to repair its fleet and replenish its resources. The attack also galvanized American public opinion, shifting the nation away from isolationism and into full-scale war. The American public rallied behind the war effort, and the U.S. military quickly expanded its forces. In the years following the attack, the United States would not only defeat Japan, but also emerge as a superpower on the world stage. The Battle of Pearl Harbor had far-reaching consequences. It led to a dramatic shift in the global balance of power, with the United States playing a central role in defeating the Axis powers. The U.S. Navy would go on to recover and rebuild, with the Pacific Fleet becoming a central force in the fight against Japan in battles such as Midway, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa. The industrial power of the United States, mobilized through the war effort, would contribute to the eventual defeat of both Japan and Nazi Germany. Additionally, the U.S. military presence in the Pacific would lay the groundwork for post-war geopolitics, including the Cold War and the eventual establishment of the United States as a dominant global military and economic power. In the years since the attack, Pearl Harbor has been memorialized as a symbol of American sacrifice, resilience, and determination. The events of December 7, 1941, are commemorated each year on National Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day, which serves as a solemn reminder of the costs of war and the importance of maintaining peace and diplomacy in international relations. The attack on Pearl Harbor remains a defining moment in U.S. history, a moment when a nation was thrust into war, and a country's identity and role in the world were forever changed. In conclusion, the Battle of Pearl Harbor was a defining moment in both U.S. and world history. It not only marked the entry of the United States into World War II, but also altered the course of the conflict and the future of global power dynamics. Despite the initial shock and devastation, the attack on Pearl Harbor galvanized the American public, leading to a swift and decisive military response. It also served as a powerful reminder of the unpredictable nature of war and the enduring legacy of sacrifice, resilience, and patriotism in the face of adversity.